Hello, today we will be learning about bar graphs. Now, last time we talked about pictographs, and bar graphs are very similar to pictographs, except instead of pictures, we use bars in bar graph. Okay, so let me give you an example of a bar graph. Okay, so we have the title, favorite subject, and let's have math, let's have English, let's have science, and let's have history. And on the left side here, I'm going to have the number of students. All right, so for math, let's say that there were 20 students. For English, let's say that they had 15. For science, let's also have 20 for science. Actually, let's see. All right. For history, let's have 10. Right, and then for you to see them easier, I'm going to color these bars. English, we have science, and we have history. Okay, so this is an example of a bar graph, and the bar graph is good when comparing data. It's an easy way to compare data, because if we use bars like this, we can just see straight away what how many students like math, how many students like history, how many students like English, like how many more students like math than English. So it's easy to compare the data here. And even in some bar graphs, you even see numbers on the top like this to indicate how many students like those subjects. Okay, so this right here are the students. Okay, so with this bar graph, you can see how many students like math, how many students like history, how many students like science. So another way of displaying data is bar graph. Remember, for pictographs, we've used pictures to represent data. For bar graphs, we use these kind of bars. Okay? And notice that if we just had numbers to represent the data, oops. So math, there were 20 students. English, there were 15 students. Science, there were 20 students. History, there were 10 students. And imagine if we had a lot more subjects this way, then the data here is going to be harder and harder to compare. But if we lay them out like this in a bar, it's very easy to see how the data relates to each of the subjects. Okay, so let's also try and draw a bar graph given an information. So this is how you read bar graphs. You just make sure that you read from the top of the bars. And so from the top of the bar, you can see at the scale on the left, and just compare that data that way. If, however, let's go this way. If, however, you are given a data and you need to draw a bar graph. No way this is sticking around here. So this time, let me give you data on favorite food. Favorite food. We are collecting data. We're collecting data in our classroom about the favorite food of each student. And let's say that 5 people say they like steak. 10 people say they like pizza. 7 people say they like tacos. And let's have 4 people say they like hamburgers. So let's see if we can draw a bar graph with this data. So as it is with any graph, we need an axis like this. Okay, and then let's look at each of the categories that we have. So we have steak, we have pizza, we have tacos, and we have hamburgers. I'm just going to write HB here as a shorthand. And of course, we need a title. So let's have the title be favorite food. The title is important because it tells us what the data is about. Favorite food. And on the left here, we need to write the numbers. If you look at the numbers here, they range from 4. The smallest number is a 4. The biggest number is a 10. So you can either just write from 1 all the way to 10 here. But sometimes the numbers are really big, so it's hard to write by ones. As you can also see in our previous example, I didn't write by ones here. I went up by 5s, right? So instead of having to write from 1 all the way to 20, I can just write the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, like that. And let's do something similar here as well. Oops. All right. So let's go up by 2s this time. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, and for the steak, there were 5 people. We don't see a 5 here, but we know that 5 is in between 6 and 4. It's about right there. So let's draw a bar that goes up to there. Right here. Pizza, there are 10 people, so let's draw all the way until the 10 mark right here. Tacos, there are 7. Again, there's no 7 here, but we know that 7 is in between 8 and 6. So let's draw a bar that goes until there. Right? And hamburgers, there are 4 people, so up to here. And it's always nice to color the bars because it's easier to see. Like if it's like this, it's kind of hard to see the bars, especially if you get more bars later on. So let's color in the bars so that it's easier to see. The main point of graphs is to see data better. So the more you can see, or the clearer you can see the data, the better the graph is. Okay, so this is our graph right here. And again, if you write it as a graph, as a bar graph like this, you can just see straight away what the most popular food is, what the least popular food is, and how the middle data compare with each other. Okay, and another important thing about drawing bar graphs, make sure that your bars, the thickness of the bar is the same. Okay, so don't draw one bar like this wide and the other bar like this thin. If you draw it like this, even though this represents more people, this looks more because it's so thick. Right? This is probably like 10 and this can be like 20. So even though this represents 20 people, this represents 10 people, it doesn't look like that on the bar because this is so thick. So when you're drawing in a bar graph, make sure that each of the bars are about the same thickness. And also make sure that the spaces in between the bars are about the same. So make sure that they're equally spaced and that the thickness of the bars are constant. Okay, so that's how you can draw a bar graph.